While we try to be as helpful as possible, this podcast should not be considered as professional or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out professional advice for your own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.
Happy New Year and welcome back, guys. I'm Julia.
And I'm Nick.
And this is the Enthusiast Lab. Well, welcome back to the Enthusiast Lab. Happy New Year and
Happy New Year and all that bullshit.
all that good stuff. We are a little bit late to the party of getting our episodes up. It took us a while to get back into the swing of things.
Better later than never. Fuck.
Yeah, after the Christmas break, we kind of didn't get into the swing of it, which was, my bad.
My bad.
But we are back and we are starting off with build versus buy. And I think this is such a common conversation that we have in the industry.
Very frequent.
Clients are always tossing up whether they should build and buy. And a lot of clients that come to us try the established market first.
Yeah.
And then realize how hard it is to actually find something that you want.
Yep.
And then they end up coming to us.
Yep.
So let's talk about the pros, the cons of both industries or both types of house purchasing. And kind of have it really unfiltered, really raw. There's definitely things about building that aren't great, and there are definitely things about established that isn't great. So I think we'll ping pong and just have a chat about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, and we'll base it on what the current market is at the moment in 2024, and also as a general rule of thumb as well, because what the market is now is very different to how it was 3 years ago. So we'll do a little comparisons and shit, and there's no point looking at what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, fuck, if we all had a crystal ball, we would have bought 5-10 years ago. But at least we can work on what the current circumstances are. What can we do to navigate our way through this bullshit and fucking be one of those legends with their own home? Do you know what I mean? So that's what we're all about. So let's fucking deep. Let's dig right into it. Deep.
Like, where are you going with the deep?
Digging my hole.
Do we want to do building, established, or ping pong between the two?
Oh, fucking ping pong, whatever. Let's start with building.
Okay.
Go.
All right. Well, for starters, building does take longer than buying an established home.
Yep.
Buying an established home, normally you have a 30 or 60-day settlement period where the previous homeowners kind of sell the home, and then they've got X amount of days to move out, and then you receive the keys to the property and it's yours. Versus building, that takes much longer because you're building the whole home.
Yeah, you're building the home, you're securing the land. Sometimes in the current market, you're waiting for land because it's delayed, because they just can't keep up with the market. There's a lot more different situations with obviously how much goes into building. It's like when you buy a brand new car versus something that's on the lot, right? You can go, if you've got the budget, you can go pick up the car and fucking drive off the same day. But sometimes if you want specific seats or specific color with that certain model of that car, sometimes it's not always going to be ready just for you. You have to wait for it to get built, and then it comes. Same shit, just bigger scale with a home.
Yeah, and financially speaking, applying for finance for an established versus building is a little bit different, because building has got a couple of grants and incentives versus established is kind of you get what you get.
So with established, your finance is based around the value of the home, or what you can borrow for the value of the home, right? So your deposit is going to be different as well. So as a first home buyer in WA, you do still have a stamp duty exemption with buying a home, as long as the value of the property is 430,000 or less, right? Anything over that to a certain point, you're on it's like a reduced rate for the stamp duty, and then after that you're paying full stamp duty. So that's more contribution you need to put into your savings to cover, which is why your deposits are higher.
Yeah.
Whereas in building, you've got the stamp duty exemption, but it's calculated different. It's only calculated on the value of the land, and that's it can. And so, as a first-home buyer, if the land is 300K or less, you don't pay stamp duty. So that allows you to potentially do something with a higher budget in the same range.
Yeah.
So it gets a bit more beneficial. And then obviously you've got the grant as well, which is just for building. So that all comes back into obviously with comparing the two, because what realistically, before you even blink, you're about roughly 20 to 24 grand ahead with building a home versus buying because of these grants and exemptions that you get. Whereas with buying in the current market, regardless of where the fuck you are in Australia, right? You can literally afford fuck all for 430 now.
Yeah, that's
Do you know
not
what I mean?
happening.
Everything's still doable, maybe in a lesser desired suburb or, you know, much smaller home. But the ideal goal with what a lot of West Aussies want, you know, a decent 4x2 in a nice area and shit, it ain't happening for 430. And anyone that's literally come in, we're explaining it and showing the data based on what it is. If you're sitting there and going, that's what I'm going to do, fuck man, like good luck. It's just, it's too hard. So you got to spend more, but that's when the benefits and the negatives really come into play very quickly. Normally you need a much higher deposit for an established property because of the fact of the stamp duty is calculated on the value of the home. So if you're buying a 600K property, right, your deposit is much higher with buying established. Whereas if you built for 600K, your deposit is actually a lot less. So there are some positives and negatives with the two.
And with buying established, location-wise, buying an established gets you closer to the CBD.
Yes.
More than likely closer to public transport.
Bigger blocks.
Most of the time it's a bigger block that you're going to be living on, and you're probably going to get into the more desirable, I don't know if that's the right word, but school catchment areas. If you're really stuck on a particular school, if you're a parent, you're going to end up moving to the catchment area of that school.
Yeah, to be able to try and secure a spot for your kids. Yeah. And some people orientate the entire living circumstances around that. Let's say the kid's currently in a specific school and they have the catchment area and they're out of the rental and now they want to buy or build. They will try and stick into that area, and that can sometimes be a bit difficult and limit your options.
So with building, most of the land is further away from the CBD. Don't get me wrong, there is still land
in the suburbs.
In suburbs. However, it's so much more harder to find the desirable block.
Correct.
That's actually being sold. And within your price range, there's so many kind of factors for that.
Well, it's leftovers.
Well, that's one way to put it.
It is. So when you look at in the suburbs, they used to be estates as well. Yeah. What's happened is it's completed, the project has finished, and developers got up and left and done something else. So what tends to happen in the suburbs is a owner has purchased the land, but they haven't built, and they've just sat on it. And sometimes that it gets resold and resold again and resold again after that. And all those owners are just making, profit out of the fucking value of the land that's increased over time. But that's why you get those, and it's why we always say it's hard and it's rare to find ideally what you want in those inner suburbs. And sometimes you do because in the past, the blocks were a lot bigger with a smaller home, and now the zoning changes with a lot of these areas, so now they're subdividing, and that provides new opportunity for people to buy into those inner suburbs. Yeah, those are the only times you're really getting that flexibility.
But with buying, with building, you are going to be, further away from the CBD, but the land is going to be cheaper, and it's more of an investment rather than buying into an established suburb that's kind of value might not shift as much as a up-and-coming suburb.
Correct, because it's based on the market value.
Yeah, and the infrastructure that goes around the area, it builds value to your home. A train station goes next to you, the value of your home goes up. A school or a shopping centre pops in.
Parks. It's all, we've said it so many times, and we tend to continue reiterating the same message. Infrastructure is what builds you value in that property, regardless of what the market is.
Yep.
And that's what you're chasing. So in the building, yes, you're going to be a bit further out. That means you've got to trek it that little bit longer. But if you're looking over a 5 to 10 year period, that property is going to continue to build like fucking value.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the circumstances of the market is, because as the development gets short, like smaller and smaller, and it's completing its stages, the land continues to go up. And what does that mean? Your property goes up as well. So the earlier you buy into those areas, then obviously the more beneficial it is. And that's the thing that you got to look at is it's all cool to be in the suburbs sometimes, but you just got to look at your circumstances. Some of them are very different. Some people are going, you know what, I'm actually renting in an estate. I like this area. Let's build in here versus I want to be fucking 10 minutes closer in. But also when we rented there, we had people sooking because I start the car up at 6 a.m. and fucking cops were rocking up.
I also think
because you don't know your neighbours.
I think it also really depends on what your future plans are. If you are planning to build your first home and live in it for 5 to 10 years, make a profit, sell it or rent it, and then build your next one, then build.
Yeah.
If you are looking at, like, you don't mind if your property doesn't gain a lot of value, so you might break even or only make just a little bit of profit if or when you sell or rent out that property, then go inner suburbs. Just keep in mind it's like that's the big difference between
the core that I like to push through is the fact of location. It's all comes down to location, right? And this is the thing: is established will give you into certain location preferences, and if your budget allows, cool. And most of the time, established properties have a smaller home with a bigger block, which might suit someone's circumstances. Building land is smaller, houses are bigger and newer, but you can normally orientate it around your lifestyle and work it with that. So when someone goes, hey, look, you know, I'm looking at buying a building. At the end of the day, when you're buying a block of land with a house that's plopped on it. That's it. You're not going to, do you know what I mean? And that house was designed for someone else's lifestyle. Whether it was just an off the plan or whatever, it is still not based a lot of the time on what it is. If you're happy to make do with what it is, cool. If not, if you want to design it, then you go and build.
Well, you segued really well into that because when you are buying an established property, you are buying someone else's dream home.
Yep.
You might also be buying that person's problems.
Yep.
You don't know why that person is selling their home. Is there a leaky roof? Is there something going on? And that's when we really, suggest getting a building inspector to really, make those checks. And with building, you get to customize the home to your lifestyle.
Correct.
Pick a design that works for you and your family and your loved ones for all the niches and nicks and nooks and crannies and all the things that you look for in a home.
Yeah.
That's what building is really there for.
Yeah, and same thing. You get an inspector, you choose the right builder, you pay for what you get, but then you're starting off
with what you want.
You're starting off on the right foot with what you're wanting. And that's really what it comes down to. Whereas, with buying, it can still be a fucking killer home and it'll be perfect. It's just a risk you take. And a lot of people think, she'll be right, I'll do a quick little reno, it's a fixer-upper. And so many times we've seen that, blows the fucking budget, and then they've got half a house that's actually functional and half a house they're not, and they've pissed away a lot more money than what they thought, and it's cost them more than just simply building. So it's not for everyone just buying and, do you know what I mean, make do. So you don't know. These are risks you take.
Yeah.
There are risks with building too.
Definitely.
There's so many builders fucking taking ridiculous million years to build a fucking home.
Yeah, if you pick the wrong builder, your experience can be
But
trash.
it's hard. Every builder fucking promises to be the best shit. Real estate agents, half the time, they're fucking dodgy. They'll, do you know what I mean? So many fucking homeowners, again, it's not for everyone, but I've seen so many that I've gone just for shits and gigs at a established property for sale, and you can tell they've only just put a fresh lick of paint and shit just to try and cover shit up. Fuck, man. Guess what? That's the next person's problem, and that might be you.
Yeah.
So
pros and cons to both.
100%. And that's the thing. It's you just work on your circumstances and that's it. There are positives. The biggest one, honestly, is just time frame.
Yeah.
One is if you need to get in, you can't find another rental and this is what it is. Cool, get it. But in the current market, you're also up against everyone else trying to buy a property. Established property right now in 2024 is like fucking liquid gold.
Well, yeah,
you want that.
Let's actually talk about the 2024 market. What are we projecting and what are we seeing happen? So
houses are going up.
We mentioned this in a previous episode. I'm not going to even try to quote myself on which episode it was, but houses right now are liquid gold, as you said. They are getting snapped up so quickly, and the rental shortage is ridiculous.
It's fucked.
We have friends in the real estate industry and property management.
Even clients are property managers, and it's like 80 to 100 people per viewing. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like that's never happened. When we were looking for a rental, I think we were up against 2 other people
Yeah, it depends when it is. But this is the thing, right? It's the current crisis is really bad. Is it going to fix itself over a period of time? Yes, potentially. But that's not happening right now. And the thing is that where we are at the moment, this has actually been foreshadowed for the last 3 to 4 years. We've been seeing the rentals decrease. We've been seeing that, and a lot of people just been turning a blind eye, going, it's fine. It's just sales tactics, this and that. The numbers are there. The numbers have always been there about not that houses couldn't be built enough, but the rental shortage. And there were times when it was a renter's market and then a seller's market, and that's when do you know what I mean? Like we could negotiate having a pet and not having to pay extra, and now all of a sudden it's a seller's market, and that's what's happening, and renters are just getting fucked.
Yeah, well, also I think COVID's like sped this up a lot because
It sped it, 100%.
Pretty much everyone that was living abroad all of a sudden returned, and all the homes that they were renting or they were, holding on to immediately became their primary residence. So every renter that was in someone else's
got moved out.
Home got moved out because that person came home and needed their home back because they had to be in Australia.
Well, and that's the thing, like there's a lot to it, but it definitely spiked it when no one was anticipating, and that also spiked the building boom. So you then got smacked from both ends, and builders and clients are still struggling, having 2-3 year builds still to this day, based on shit that happened back in 2020. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to take a while to fix itself. The prices seem to be okay in building now.
They're stabilizing.
They're stabilizing a lot more, but again, they're still increasing. Land is increasing because now it's such a huge demand for land and very limited supply. And that was the same thing that was happening for the last 2-3 years. It's just from one problem to the next.
Yeah.
Initially it was the builders going up and, you couldn't get the trades. Now it's you can build it, but there's no land.
Yeah, the land shortage now in Western Australia is phenomenal.
Adelaide is just as bad.
Adelaide is just as bad. And, we talk about, our job and what we do as builder brokers, consultants, whatever you want to call us.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Maintaining relationships with land developers is so important.
It's fucking crucial.
Because this is when those relationships really come to shine.
Absolutely.
You build those relationships with the land developers by showing you bring the clients to them, and you have clients that go through, they don't fall over,
Yeah, it's loyalty and also quite a lot of actual delivering on the promises, because the developer doesn't want to be dealing with a 3-year build. It's an unfinished site. It looks fucking shit because it's under construction. They want homes built and completed. They want to do the landscaping. They want to get them done in and out as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible. So leaning on those relationships that we build, and we've built them over the last 7 years, and that it becomes very crucial getting some exclusive land, working with, there's been so many times when a client's really sold on a block in a certain stage or in the state, and on the market there's nothing, and then all of a sudden we're able to pinch something from that was on hold with someone else, and we could get it for our client. It's developing those relations and leaning on them when needed, and vice versa. When they needed some help, we're there to try and help as well. So it's always it's a bit of fucking give and take from both ends.
Yeah.
And the winner at the end of the day is the client. So that's what it really comes to. And there's many people promising they're the fucking best, relation. Fucking, do you know what I mean? Like they build relations and all that shit. Fuck off, cunt. Like at the end of the day, it's all about working what you do and how can you benefit and provide those results to a client on a constant basis. It's about delivering not for one or two and then shining it to the social media and to everyone. It's everyone needs to be able to have that help.
Yeah,
and that's what we're all about, is making sure we can do as much as we can for as many people as we can help. But we can't help everyone.
So we've mentioned the land shortage.
Yep.
We have mentioned the rental shortage.
Yep.
There's obviously a housing shortage because of everything else.
Fucking 20,000 homes short for the next 3 years. We're fucked.
And I think one of the big reasons that I know we've mentioned this, I think it was in the episode with Matt that we mentioned it, it's because all the investors from over east are coming and starting to invest in the west.
Investors have always been here. They've been a lot more quieter. We had a big one when there was a lot of Chinese investors, and then that stopped with there was government got involved and shit and slowed it down. Investors have always been there. What's happened is the market has changed. And what I mean by that is it was a lot of the locals, a lot of us, WA and SA people, and basically we were the ones buying and securing all the land. And then fucking 10 interest rate rises, it fucks with people's borrowing, and all of a sudden people are priced out that were waiting, thought they was going to crash. It's continually increasing. So then what's happened is at the same time, investors are looking going, cool, we can actually, and they've looked at comparisons, and a lot of them invest across Australia. It's not just WA or Queensland or New South Wales, that they spread across the board. And do you know what I mean? It's just it's a myriad of things that have combined to get to where it is now. And what we're seeing a big trend of is a lot of the investors and a lot of the over-risk guys, literally, it's a fucking, what?
2-for-1 deal.
Yeah. What's another word for it? It's like one of those like hot, those hot, remember the old days when like someone would have like a promo and it had like little flames sizzling and shit? That's literally what WA and SA is it's a fucking 2-for-1 deal. It's like basically you're getting like 50% off in their eyes because of how much it costs overseas for a lot of these properties and how far off you are. When you compare the numbers for WA and SA, you can almost buy 2 for the price of 1. The rental yield is fucking phenomenal. The costs are constantly increasing in the property value. It's a fucking no-brainer for them.
Yeah.
And the thing is they're so used to the high deposits and all that out because of the overseas market. They come here and they're just wiping everything out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you can't be in that market to secure something yourself, you're just going to get bought out. And a lot of people are currently experiencing that, especially the last probably 6 months. We're getting a lot of people going, we've been going for the last 6 to 8 months looking at properties, and we go to a house that's saying offers from 520, we've got 550 budget, we're going to pull it in, and it sells for 80 to 100K above asking, sight unseen.
Yep.
And it's just like, and they're like, what the fuck do we do? I'm like,
this is it. This is the
this
problem.
is it.
That we're
This
having.
is the scenario. It's fucked. So if you can keep, spending the time and trying to do it, you're paying for rent while you're doing it, and it's getting harder, or bite the fucking bullet. You know what the time frames, we've got the guarantees in place. You know the price is guaranteed. This is where it is. Just fucking build and get it going. Because it's time in the market, not timing the market. That's what helps you with property.
Also with investors, I think investors have created a bit more, I think they've expedited the land shortage in Western Australia.
100%.
Because if you think about your average person building a home, they buy one block. And a developer will release, 20 to 30 blocks per stage. And it takes a while to develop these stages. These investors, they're not your average Joe. The ones I'm specifically talking about, they're the ones that build 5 to 10 homes in a lump. So they will go and buy.
Nah, man, some of them are doing they're smashing certain investment companies with what they're doing now. Like we're seeing them complete 1,000 to 1,500 homes a year, each company.
Yes.
And there's tons of them. So
what I'm saying is these investment companies will come and buy, snatch up 10
literally
10
half or 3/4 of a stage that hasn't even been developed yet.
Exactly. So when we start looking at land, we've just waited 6 months for this land to be developed. There's 20 blocks available and 10 of them are immediately gone by one person, which is one investor.
Yes.
It only leaves, half the amount of blocks for actual clients.
100%.
And, if a second investor sees the same area, because all the investors seem to clump together and want to build in the same area, that stage is gone within half a week.
Yeah, and we're seeing that in certain areas where it's just absolutely getting smashed. And unfortunately, in the developer's eyes, why would I want to slow that down? They're selling properties, they're selling their business, they've got 20% plus, deposits, so they're very strong in financial positions. It's a no-brainer. So it continues going on. The houses are going to get built.
Yep.
In terms of the market for people, you just got to understand if it's not one thing putting pressure on you, it's something else. And unfortunately, it either works with your scenario and you work something out, or unfortunately, you will potentially get priced out the market. There's so many people, I'm still getting phone calls from people saying they're going, it's going to fucking crash in 2024, 2025. Just look at the fucking numbers, man.
Yeah.
We've got massive housing shortage, massive rental crisis in both states, right? If the rates start dropping down, normally that usually trends that potentially the house prices might shift a little bit and go down. Normally that's how it works. What that's going to do is put even more pressure onto the actual fucking property market. Because then people that have been priced out, all of a sudden might be actually get priced back in to enter the market, because as interest rates go up, your borrowing capacity goes down. So when it does the opposite, your borrowing goes back up, and all of a sudden, hey, shit, I couldn't afford it. I can now. Fucking welcome to the market. And now everyone's in. So what people have been thinking going, all this shit's going to fuck everything. It will hurt some people more than others. And that's shit, but it's just how things are. But other people, it's going to let them cherry pick the opportunities. And that's what happened with COVID as well. Everyone's like, it crashed. Man, we were dealing with clients with 100, 200K deposits, and they just cherry picked what they wanted, how they wanted it, and got it going.
Exactly, because no one was spending money at the time.
Fuck no.
No one was traveling. No one was spending money.
No matter what happens in the market, what's the one common thing that always is stable? Property. Someone needs a fucking roof over their head. So regardless of what really happens, people need houses.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, this doesn't mean you need to go and invest. But the thing is if you've got the opportunity to do so, then at least you know whether you're going to put it as a rental or do it for your own property. Buying or building is the path to go for that. Do you know what I mean?
So, I want to wrap it up here, keep the episode a little bit shorter. As a summary, building or buying, honestly, it's completely up to your personal circumstances.
100%.
There are pros and cons to both.
Yep.
And I think the main reason people would go for an established market or established home would be time, because building does take a long time.
But the way I like to look at it, if it works, 100%, do you know what I mean? But Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you got to understand is if you got to, we all want everything now. And especially when you get put into pressure with interest rates going up and then you might not be able to afford it. You go, fuck, I just need to buy something. But then I don't have enough deposit. I save up enough and then I'm priced out of the market anyways. The biggest thing, work out the budgets, work out your finance, and then figure out what is actually realistic. Because, 3 years ago, I could have gone the house for 500 and now it's 680. Welcome to fucking 2024.
Welcome to the market.
This is what it is. Nothing's going to stay the same. Perth especially has been on the lower end of the median house price for so long, and it still is the second cheapest state to live in and desired. So regardless of what you're looking at, when you start comparing, if you want to compare apples to apples, you've got more opportunities for work and to actually obtain your own home as, sub 30 years of age for a lot of people.
Yeah.
To be able to have your own home, man, there are people their entire life that fucking bust hole and can't get a fucking property, and we've got the opportunities for it. So the biggest thing in 2024, dead set, it's building is actually cheaper than buying.
Yep.
That's what it is.
I'll
right
give
now.
it that, yeah.
Like hand to heart.
And more reliable at the moment.
It's
more achievable.
Building's more reliable and it's cheaper than it is to buy because of what's happening with people being priced out of their market by a lot of investors and a lot of people migrating as well that are coming with big cash and they're just going, fuck it, we just want to buy something. And that's unfortunately what you're up against in the current market.
I think the only thing I'll add to that before we wrap up is if you are looking at building, unfortunately right now you don't really have the luxury of umming and ahhing about a block of land.
Nah.
Because we can no longer get holds on land for clients for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Those holds,
we're still getting holds, but
it's only for like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, it's no longer hey, I'm going to put this on hold and I'll get back to you in a few weeks and see how it is. Man, someone else puts a pressure and they're keen on that block. You've got 24 hours to 48 hours maximum, and then you're going to move. There's going to be a lot of people that obviously listen to our shit and then they'll combat this, because I hear all sorts of shit with the clients coming in. And they'll sit there and go, oh, well, we can guarantee a hold for a block of land for a week. It's case by case, but we're talking general here.
Yep.
A lot of these guys, if there is pressure and someone's got a better financial position than you, they will try and push to move it. The developers love them to bits, but at the end of the day, it's business.
Well, yeah.
And all they give a fuck about is selling that land with a person that has the best financial position to ensure it goes through and to settle and move, because it costs them money to have titled land. They want to move that shit as soon as possible.
The quicker they sell it, the quicker they can develop more.
They develop more and quicker they obtain profit. At the end of the day, they're in there to make money.
Yep.
So they don't care. This is going to sound so fucking bad. They don't care about your sub story. They care about selling shit.
Yep.
And you need to work around your circumstances to put yourself in the best position. So dead set, if you're tossing it up, cool, happy days, reach out to us. Let's figure out the finances. what can you do with buying? What can you do with building? What does that look like? And then fucking the ball's in your court after that. If you've got the info, then we've done our job.
That's it.
Fuck oath.
So if you guys can leave a rating or a review, that would be amazing.
Yeah, help a brother out.
Hit the follow button on YouTube and let's plug. You can find Mr. Enthusiast on
Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our website.
and Instagram.
Oh, yeah, and Instagram. Fuck, the biggest one.
We hope you guys enjoyed this episode and just remember, we're not here.
To fuck spiders.
Bye.
Bye.